The social web can do more good in the world than it can do bad. And it's the choice of people and the people who are using it as to what they want to do with it.
The web naturally, as a technology, tends to lead to openness. It makes openness easy and closedness more difficult.
Anything that a human being could do with his or her mind would be infinitely reproducible at zero cost and infinitely distributable.
So, regardless of whether you think, social technology and the internet is good or bad, it is. This is what, the genie is out of the bottle. And I think that's an amazing thing. It is the most empowering generational shift that has ever happened. And I think that that is what makes it so compelling and so inspiring and so much fun. When you look at the fact that you can be sitting in your pajamas on your couch and help drive, world peace, that is actually happening today. That's possible in a way that it was never possible before. And I think that that's something that is incredibly important. So, does it mean that people have shorter attention spans? Yes. But is that a bad thing? Maybe, depending on what your point of view is. But in terms of what it can actually enable socially, economically, and politically, I think that we should embrace and welcome social technology, not fear it.
One of the nice things has been where we've seen that countries that tend to be rather closed and where information flow was not very good have used the internet, in fact, to open up. It's unfortunate when we find a country where there has been a very strong clampdown. My feeling is that there is, maybe independent of the internet, an inexorable movement towards openness. That as people learn more about other countries, as people learn more about the world, then they demand more. They connect more and they push back against the borders. And once you've allowed openness, it's very difficult to push it back. So I hope that there will be a general move towards openness, and each country, bit by bit, will become open and when it comes to information, and therefore become a better base for an informed democracy.
The Electronic Frontier Foundation is an organization that exists and has existed since 1990 to try to assure to humanity the right to know. Which is a right that hasn't been previously promulgated because it was an impossibility. But our dream is that anybody anywhere may have access to anything that human beings do with their minds one day, because that capacity is being given us by the internet, and that can change everything in a lot of interesting ways. But we want to make certain that anybody who's got something to say can say it, and anybody who wants to listen can hear, and anybody who doesn't want to listen can tune them out. Which is an essential quality of freedom of expression, is the right not to listen. And we believe that can be conveyed by making certain that the architecture of the internet is designed in such a fashion so as to be both ubiquitous and open.
So when I look at whether social technologies and the social web is a good thing or a bad thing, if it's horrible for society or wonderful for society, I think the reality is that it's here. It's not going away. And so it's up to people who use it to decide whether it is going to represent the best of human nature or the worst of human nature. And realistically, it's probably going to be a little bit of both. But what is possible today with social technologies is profound. Namely, you can be sitting at your house in your pajamas, and you can actually impact the lives of someone sitting in a country hundreds of thousands of miles away that is wrought with political strife. You can say, I'm here, I'm listening to you. One of our Ning networks is the Congo Wall, which was created by Eve Ensler, who had just gotten back from the Congo with her V-Day organization, where women are being brutalized as a means of fighting a war. And the fact of the matter is they feel alone. And with social technology, women from all over the world could come to this Ning network and leave a message for the women of the Congo. You're not alone. And those messages, over 2,000 women and men around the world actually contributed a message. They printed them out and took them to the hospital in the Congo where women were recovering. No one is alone anymore. And I actually think that's a really powerful thing. You can sit at your house and make change. And we're talking about social change and political change and economic change in a way that was never possible before. And I think that that's something that we should embrace, and that we should look at what are the ways that we're going to make it the best of what people can be, as opposed to the worst of what people can be.
When Martin Luther came along, it wasn't just that he nailed some theses to the door, it was that he came along about the same time as Gutenberg, who could give everybody a Bible. And suddenly the Bible was not something that was strictly interpreted by the church, ex cathedra. The Bible was something that anybody could read and figure out for himself. And that fundamentally changed the power of the church, and changed the power of all social organization in Europe. And we just think, the human mind has its limitations, but we just think that humans are more likely to achieve their ultimate purpose, whatever that may be, if they have the capacity to completely explore the possibility space of what can be known.
I think people naturally need to be involved in different scales. They need to spend some time by themselves, some time worrying about the planet, but also of everything in between. And because people have that natural tendency to get involved in lots of different communities, so they tie individual communities together. You've heard of act locally, think globally. Well, there's also act globally, think locally. There's act nationally, think globally. There's all these combinations, and because people are doing that, they're acting in one domain, but they're thinking about another size of community while they're doing it. Because of this overlap, I think people naturally steer us away from each of these horrible extremes toward a big, tangled up, very complex but wonderful mess of entangled humanity.
So fundamentally, again, social technologies are reflective of human nature, whether it's connecting you to the people that you know or connecting you to people around the things that you care about. And when you look at it in that context, everything that people are doing in terms of learning how to connect with other people online is towards a common goal. So whether that common goal is sharing news articles for fun, or entertaining themselves by listening to amazing music in the context of a artist fan site or an artist website or a MySpace page or a Facebook fan page, all of those skills can actually be used for anything. As people are actually learning how to use social technologies, they are using them in all sorts of ways. So of course, social technology is going to have a massive impact in terms of how people organize politically, what they do economically, and how they express themselves as being unique individuals in a social way. So I actually think and really look at it as the skills people are learning across all of these facets of the world. It's not a surprise that they're using them for political activism. And I think that the part about it that is just amazing is the fact that it is global. The internet is global. The world is global. And I think that when you look at the fact that media is global today in a way that it never was before, it is going to have fundamental impact on the way the world works. And I think that's a good thing. What makes people so special, which is the fact that we're innovators and we are people who can change the world. So we now have tools. 25 years ago, we didn't have a way to impact the world in one single instant. Today we do, and it's through the internet.
And given that there is a fundamental quality in human nature that likes to share information, I mean, if you think something is cool or interesting, what's the first thing you want to do with it? Tell everybody you like. You know, and if it's not just simply saying, I read this great book, you should go out and buy it, but you can just sort of zap the book right into the other person's mind, practically.
I absolutely believe that the possibilities and the opportunities for people to live a rich, passionate life that allows them to express themselves in all the ways that they want to, regardless of where they live geographically. I don't think it gets any better than that.